We back. Oh yeah, we back. We back. Oh yeah, 'cause we black. We back. What's good? What's good, everybody? It's your man CJ Kyles, aka the High Value Nurse, checking in once again. Here for a short show this evening. Um, just wanted to get some content out there, let everybody know the kid is back from vacation. 8 day cruise vacation. It wasn't really up to par. It wasn't really up to the standards that I like it, but a vacation is a vacation nonetheless. It was time away from the job. It's time just away from everything to recharge, and I did have some fun. Um, while on the cruise, I did have some fun. Shout out to the people that we met, that we cruised with. Shout out to Tay and Takara. Wonderful couple, wonderful couple. And the cruise was okay. Like I said, on a scale of 1 to 10, I give it a 5. I give it a 5, ladies and gentlemen, but that's okay because we booked another one February 13th through the 19th, and we're gonna book another one after that. I'm just trying to see if there are any other cruises that will go back to back or what the case may be. But the way it's looking, man, it's not looking good for the cruises. For the cruise lines right now, it seems like all the cruise lines are canceling cruises, and I don't know what's going on, ladies and gentlemen, but that's not really what I'm here to talk about today. Shout out, shout out to Sensational. I figured it out. To Sensational. Shout out to Sensational in the building. Sorry to hear it wasn't what y'all liked, but glad y'all enjoyed. Yeah, we made the best of it. Mahogany Bay was dope. Mr. Sancho's was fire. Fire. Like always. Like always. Um, but yeah. I'm back, ladies and gentlemen. Go back to work on Wednesday. I don't know. I may go to work earlier than that, but I don't know what it means when they say a vacation from the vacation. Now I get what that means. I sent Nurse Roxy a link. She should be joining me shortly if she can, but if she can't, that is fine. It's late. Um, her husband's probably like, "What are you doing? Get off that inner." Oh, and speak of the devil, and they may appear. Here she is right now. Hey, Miss Nurse Roxy, what's going on? You're muted.
All righty. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Let me go ahead and turn the music down, and let me turn you up. How's it going this evening?
Can't complain.
I know your husband is probably like, "What are you doing up this late talking to this Negro?" What do
Nope. He understands. We have an understanding.
Okay. I appreciate you being here. Um, Mr. Roxy, thank you for letting me borrow your lady for a few minutes. Um, for the show. For the show.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate you being here. What's been going on with you?
Nothing much. Just 2022. I have some plans ahead. I am preparing for a certification, so to take things to the next level. So,
Okay. All
mhm.
right. How'd you bring in your new year?
What did I do? Cooked.
Oh, you cooked. That's what's up.
Mhm.
That's what's up. That's what's up. That's a great way to bring in the new year. Did you have your family and everything over?
Mhm. Everybody's good. No, no, I just cooked for my husband and my son.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, shout out to your husband and your son. That's a beautiful thing. We were we were on a cruise ship. Um,
I noticed.
yeah, yeah.
How did you enjoy yourself?
The first night was fun.
Okay.
Um, the third night was fun. We went to this place in Cozumel called Mr. Sancho's. But the rest of the cruise was pretty like lackluster. We had a good time in Mahogany Bay, went to the beach, but the rest of it was like pretty lackluster. It wasn't how it normally is, and I guess it's due to COVID because there really wasn't a lot of shows,
Hmm.
thing like that. But yeah, um, I don't know. It just wasn't what it was, but that's all right. We booked another one on the 13th of next month, so
Oh, nice. Okay.
yeah, hopefully it's a better one. Um, but Nurse Roxy, I got an article I pulled up
Hmm.
from the New York Times. It's an opinion piece,
Okay.
and the article, the title of it, before I'm not gonna read it yet,
Hmm.
but the title of it is, "You know what would help exhausted doctors and nurses? More money, more
Okay.
money." So that led me to the question: are nurses slaves, or have they become slaves with this new pandemic to the money? Now, prior to the pandemic, nurses were always known to make pretty decent paper, and with this pandemic, nurse rates have like shot up like never before.
Hmm.
This is a very historic time in the medical field. I'm sure if nurses know how to finesse their paper wisely, they could become millionaires off this whole pandemic. And over in the West Coast, before the pandemic, you had nurses making 200, 300, $400,000. I've even heard a year.
Hmm.
Um, now, mind you, they got to work their tail off, but
Right.
nonetheless, it's still attainable. So with this whole new pandemic thing and these rates, and it don't seem to be slowing down. I saw some articles about government potentially putting a cap on it. I don't see
Right.
that happening no time soon. What do you think about that? Do you think nurses have become slaves to the dollar?
Well, not just nurses.
Right.
I think there's a popular phrase called golden cuffs.
Mhm.
I'm sure you heard it before, where people make a certain amount of money, you get used to that money, you get used to access the access that money can bring, that income can bring, and you want it, you want more of it, you want more access to it.
Right.
And also, I think a lot has to be said about the way people feel about spending the money that they have.
Mhm.
So, again, back to that whole golden cuffs, um, that theory, once you have access to more money, you spend differently. And then when you spend differently, you're going to need more money to maintain that lifestyle. You also want the comforts that comes with living that lifestyle. And you want some things, maybe like maybe you like lavish trips, maybe you like luxury vehicles, maybe you like really expensive clothing, you have some expensive taste, whatever that taste could be. But now you want that thing that you probably should do once in a while to be something you do every day.
Mhm.
So you're gonna have to work for it. You got to work for it.
I was thinking because in nursing school, they have us take a bunch of classes that are totally unnecessary. Um,
Okay.
but the one class they don't make us take is like accounting, properly spending, just so people can become more aware of
Hmm.
what to do with their paper when they get their paper. And
Hmm.
I think something like that could be very helpful, especially to the newer, younger nurses that are breaking into the field
Hmm.
at a time like this. I think if because it's no secret, nurses make great money. I mean, they just do.
Sure.
That's
Hmm.
the reason they get into the game.
Hmm.
So do you think something like that will be helpful to the new nurse coming into the game, and not just the new nurse, but just any nurse? A good spending class, should that become a requirement, do you think, when becoming a nurse, to learn how to spend your money properly, try not to live above your means, and et cetera, et cetera?
So I think that I don't see where it would hurt, right? So I think having education around um, income, you know, how to build income as a nurse, how to advance financially as a nurse would be important. Along with that, uh, so not just teaching someone how to spend the money and how to save money, but also how to invest in their education, and kind of create a comfort for themselves, that because I think what a lot of nurses don't understand is that nurses have a lot to offer.
Hmm.
There's certain skills that nurses that are so unique to nursing, that there are roles that even other people from other within other professions, they envy the fact that nurses can move in those spaces.
Hmm.
So I think, yeah, I don't see a problem with that at all. I think that would make perfect sense. But along with that, also teaching nurses how to, navigate in healthcare so that not you can make the money without having it break you,
Mm,
right?
right.
How to finesse the system in a certain way.
Mhm.
So, oh, I've seen Snap Nurse before. Yeah, okay.
I just want to bring this up for the people real
Mm-hmm.
quick.
Sure.
Snap Nurse just put these rapid response deployment rates out.
Ooh,
ICU nurse, $142 an hour. A peds ICU nurse, $142 an hour. Emergency department, 136. Telenurse, 120. PCU, 132. Med surge, 116. Respiratory therapist, 116. LVN,
55.
55. That's ridiculous. And see, well, I'm gonna get in that in a second.
Mhm.
Pharmacist, 84 an hour. Pharmacist tech, 55 an hour. Phlebotomist, 37. CNA, 35. Um, I mean, regardless, this is great money. And
Yes.
with the stipend. The stipend, it says it's gonna start at $1,204. I don't know about that. I think it's probably gonna be more than that. But that's
Mhm.
what the flyer says. So I'm gonna just go by the flyer. And that's pretty good money. That's pretty good money. Now for the
I think
LVN,
so.
I think that's kind of ridiculous, but it is what it is. That's why you work to get your RN. But there are some LVNs out here that can, I'm not being biased, but there are some LVNs that can run circles around some of these RN.
Well, my twin is a LVN, a LPN, well, we call it LPN, LVN, LPN,
Mhm,
and she's been a nurse since 2005,
mhm,
and she talking run circles, and she's always made six figures.
right,
It's interesting because this is Pennsylvania. This is not California.
right.
She's always made six figures in Pennsylvania. So um, yeah, she's definitely over. At least when I say six figures, I should say over six figures. She's always been able to use her nursing knowledge to get paid as an LPN. So shout out to the LPNs who know how to make it work.
Absolutely. You got
Hmm. Yep.
um so back to the slave to the money thing. I
Hmm.
think to an extent, all of us are to an extent.
Hmm.
Um, like I said, we wouldn't get into the game if at least let me speak for me. I would not have gotten to the game if I know all I could tap out at was 15 bucks an hour.
Right.
That's nonsense.
No.
Um, but I wouldn't say that I'm a slave to the rate per se. Like for example, I'm speaking for me, right? Now 55 an hour for me is not enough money for me to leave my state. It's just not enough money
Okay.
to do so. Because right now, I mean, now granted, I don't know everybody else's situation, but my situation, I don't have any children. I don't have a car note. Um, my rent's not 4,000 a month, nothing like that. I live pretty below my means. So that
Mhm.
grants me more time. Now I still get paid a good amount with the contract that I'm on, but 55 an hour is just not enough to move me from
Right.
Michigan. Like if somebody wanted to really get me out of the state of Michigan on a travel assignment, it'd at least have to be for like 3,500 a week,
Right.
at least. And I'm just like
Right.
that's what it would take to move me. But anything lower than that, I'm cool because I can make what I'm making now locally at home, and I can make right. Shout out to my sister's keeper. She says right, I'm making 55 right now locally. Right. So
Right.
that wouldn't move me. But to some, that's a good offer, and that's cool. And maybe some want the experience. Some people want to go travel and want that experience. So I'm not knocking that. But I am a slave to my time and to my vacations.
Right.
Okay. So I may not be a slave to the money, but I gotta take them. I gotta take them. And in order for me to move, I that paper would have to be right.
Right.
But do you think a lot of nurses are burning themselves out in this time because of that rate that they are getting out there? That snap nurse and rapid response and crucial, they call crucial Big Daddy K. All those guys are making. Because I'm not gonna lie, if I was an RN and somebody called me and said, CJ, we got 142 an hour for you, that would probably move me. That will probably move me. I'm not gonna lie. I'll probably move on that kind of number. But
Hmm.
what do you think? How they burning themselves?
I'm a little unique because even as a registered nurse, um, I didn't work for 2 years. Um, and I did not work for 2 years because, speaking more so on that slave piece, this is before the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
So I have like a little different idea about it because for me, I look at nursing as a type of role that if you don't realize what you're bringing to the table and the work that you can do and what is your niche, your area, you could really get burned out.
Yeah.
Okay. That's just in general. So, with that being said, talking now about, this COVID pay, I think finesse where you can finesse. I know a nurse in particular, shout out to her. I'm not going to put her name out there. So the little job that we do in the daytime, um, we are contracted with an insurance company who wants nurses. Hey, how you doing, nurse Dow? We are contracted with an insurance company, major insurance company. You probably sure that insurance company is very big insurance company, but or $1 billion insurance company. I should put it that way. But they just want nurses just to reach out to doctors and tell the doctors that these patients came out the hospital. And I'm not exaggerating. That's exactly how simple the job is. And this lady has been on 2 contract roles. She did one where she didn't. She actually what they just paid her for staging.
Mm.
She was staging, and that's what they paid her for.
Mm.
And another one where she did was really cool, where she was working at a COVID uh clinic for children, and she was doing that, still doing our job because our job only required a laptop, access to Wi-Fi. They gave us cell phones so you can use the hotspot as your Wi-Fi, and she was making all her phone calls. So she's getting paid
Wait a minute.
our salary, and
Hold
she's
up.
getting paid on her contract.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. So her job was literally all she had to do was have a laptop, a Wi-Fi signal, and that's it.
And this is what we do. She and I do this in the daytime.
Mm.
So the contract role that she picked up was that she is um what she what she did in this contract role is that she was working at a children's COVID clinic.
Hmm.
And I mean, yeah, and the staging that she did in California, oh my, they had her in a hotel. They never pulled her. They never needed her in
Wow.
the hospital. They just had her staging there for 3 weeks. So she
Wow.
had that money, and she had the money she was making. Because the job that we do is not a full time job, but they pay us full time rate. They pay us, but it's not a job that you need full time. I mean, get on the phone with the doctor, but insurance companies got money to burn. So
Well, I'm gonna put that in my Rolodex, and when I get my RN, I'm gonna have to holler at you on that
yeah,
pitch
the
because I
insurance
would like
company is
nothing
definitely the
more.
move.
I would like
I
nothing.
hate to sound like this, but if you really want to make some good money in nursing, um, you got to go into like the corporate business end of things, revenue cycle, which is what I'm getting my certification in, so I can get a little deeper in this whole thing.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's where the money is.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. When I get my RN, I'm gonna holler at you. We're gonna have to really chop up some business game.
Sure, sure. Why
Um,
not?
they look, they want to know. Nurse Dow said, "How do I apply?" My sister Keeper said, "Wow." She said, "You
Yeah.
said that's called a stager." She's absolutely right, especially for the long term. Oh yeah, like I don't. My goal was I'm gonna work really like when I get my RN, I'm gonna work really hard for 10 years, right? 10 to
Hmm.
15 years, and then the rest I'm gonna sit back and work the easy money with the easy jobs. Like I'm willing to follow the money, right? So I'm willing to go to
Hmm.
California and I'm willing to work in the ICU and do everything that I need to do to be able to put myself up for early retirement. I have the option for early retirement. But after that, 10 to 15 years down the line, I'm trying to either have my logistics company popping off, be involved in corporate nursing, that
Hmm.
side of the game, what you do and everything like that. But right now, while I'm young, while I'm getting in shape, while I'm able, I want to follow the money and work them hours and get it in the way I need to get it in order for me to really do the things that I want to do. But I definitely want to have that what you're talking about on
Mhm.
the back burner as definitely some side change in my pocket.
But you are also doing some great things because the work that you're doing, because it's very clinical, that reinforces the skills that you bring.
Oh, for sure.
That so you understand what I'm saying? And that's kind of where a lot of, I hate to sound like this, but that's where some of the envy comes from for people who are not nurses but work with nurses, because they know that nurses can negotiate rates. They know that nurses can get paid. They know that nurses can show up with their license, and that's enough.
Right.
A lot of other people have to kind of prove their skin in the game. We don't have to do all of that. So what you're doing actually is you're building up, your resume. You're building up that clinical piece so that when you come to the table and say, "This is what I want," they like, okay, because I know you're going to be able to speak that language
Yeah.
and go in between. So
So when
you'll
a
be fine.
player say, "Listen, this is what I want. I need 6 figures and I need 6 months off. I know what I'm talking about. I done been in the game for this much time. I may take a couple calls while I'm on vacation, but don't bother me. They gonna
Precisely.
well, boy, now we talking. Don't get me started.
Precisely.
We talking. Now we talking. Let me pull up this article real quick, nurse.
Hmm.
I'm gonna get this article cracking. And I didn't read it yet. I started reading some of it, and I thought it was interesting. I said, "Well, let me do a show about this. I haven't been on live in a second, um, so let me go ahead and get this cracking.
Mm.
See, let me see. More money. Boy, they look tired too. Let's see. This is by Sandeep Jahar. It's an Indian name. I'm sorry to my
Hmm.
Indian people if I am butchering it. But let's get it started. As healthcare workers prepare to enter the third year of the pandemic, we are experiencing burnout on an extraordinary scale. Many of us have confronted more death and sickness than ever before in our careers. As a physician at a teaching hospital, that was one of the hardest hit in New York. I have witnessed firsthand the mayhem that this pandemic has brought on us. Some of my colleagues harbor frustration and even anger at patients who have chosen to remain unvaccinated or not wear masks and are now hospitalized with COVID-19, imposing additional risk to us and our families. I'm gonna stop it right there. Nurse Roxy,
Hmm.
do you feel like a lot of nurses and a lot of doctors are upset at these patients not wearing a mask, not being vaccinated? Is that is that a good way to harbor some resentment? I never thought about it like that.
So this whole thing has become politicized.
Yeah.
One, let's just be careful with that.
Yep.
Also, there are some health plans, as like insurance plans, that are um, they are making note of individuals who are not vaccinated, right? Because a part of that data does kind of go into other risk, because we also know that there's a such thing as long COVID, right? So once a person has COVID, they can have long-term effects.
Mhm.
So this is no different than kind of like the increased rate that some insurers have to pay if they're cigarette smokers, right? So
Mm.
there's something you have to consider, right? People who are not vaccinated, are they putting themselves at increased risk? And of course, your employer is the person paying for your insurance. So if you don't have um the vaccination, right? If you're not vaccinated and you're putting yourself at increased risk to get COVID, then you also you're putting your employer at increasing the likelihood that you're going to be a more expensive person to cover as far as an employee. But that's the other political side of it. But
Mm.
I think that everyone has their own opinion about uh, patients who are choosing not to get vaccinated. For me, I think as a healthcare professional, we don't really have much of an option.
Right.
And I have license in a few states. DC, well, 4 states. And DC was the only state that requested directly to me, if you do not get vaccinated, we're going to pull your DC license. I'm like, no, I like my DC money. We're not doing that, right?
Mm.
Um, but I think every here, I think each healthcare professional has a different perspective on patients having the right to be vaccinated or not. I just think that that's different. But the burden that is on the healthcare system, a lot of it has to do with the fact that the healthcare system, for me, too long was being ran like a more like a restaurant, right? So very hospitality driven. This customer service and this customer satisfaction like approach to healthcare. While I think it's great, I think it works better when you have more players
Yeah.
who are able to kind of, fill in the gap. A lot of the initiatives around quality measures have kind of placed hospitals and providers at a place where, of course, they're burned out.
Well, you
Not
know what?
just documenting their care, they have all these quality measures that they have to also meet. So that creates an increased demand, and then these ratios. There needs to be state laws.
And
I'm seeing
California
some
does
things
have those. They have state
right
laws. Yeah. They have
around ratios,
laws. They
right?
have the best laws in the country.
And I think that other states should follow suit because right now, the way the ratio is set up in most states, they can just find so many ways to just burn you out. That's why you have so many nurses leaving and working travel assignments.
Yeah,
I'd
you know
rather
what?
get burnt
I'm
out
not.
at a higher rate if
Yeah,
I'm going to get burnt
exactly.
out.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't plan to leave. I've sold my soul to this to this career
Also,
field.
you sold your soul already.
Oh yeah, my soul long been gone. When I found out that it's possible for a nurse to make $1 million in this field, my soul was sold a long time ago. So
Mhm.
it's just about the the moves that we making. But I just think
Of
that
course.
nursing school is ridiculously long for no reason at all. It does not take 4 years to get everything you need to get out of a traditional nursing program. An LPN program has no business being 11, 12 months. That is absolutely asinine, in my opinion.
Okay.
Half the time we didn't like I say in for LPN, I haven't been to RN school yet, but
Hmm.
for LPN, I think a LPN maximum 6 months because most of your experience is going to come from the floor anyway. I say three to
Well,
4 months book work. Then the rest of your time you spend in the field and whatever field you're gonna go into, clinical learning, whatever you want to do. So I think it's ridiculous, and they need more players out there, and they need to start making exceptions. I think.
Well, see, the only thing I think with education, anyway, especially when you have a closed system like nursing programs, and I say closed system, where for the most part you have a cohort coming in for a period of time. They, have a duration that they complete. They complete the course, and at the end that they graduate, right? Or hopefully they all graduate. Um, Everyone comes in with a different mindset, right? So there're going to be people who are going to get it, and I do think that there should be a way to kind of like separate people once you find out that there's like a higher functioning group.
Yeah.
I think they like to kind of keep things integrated because they know that the higher functioning students will, help the ones who are moving a little slower, not really getting some of the concepts.
But that's not reality in the real world, though. You know what I'm saying? Because the higher functioning, I mean, yes, like I said, you can have a higher functioning nurse and a lower functioning nurse in the same field in the same situation. But in most situations, who are they going to call if they know that Nurse Roxy is on her P's and Q's every time something happens and a situation goes on? They know that CJ is lackluster. Who they gonna call on? You know what I'm saying? Like to me, I think that makes perfect sense. Sometimes it is important to segregate, but at this time, you can't really pick and choose because you have no one. But I
Yes.
sometimes segregation is necessary, in my opinion.
Yeah, of course, because you have people who, like I'm working with a group right now. And it's a mixed bag. Some are nurses who already have coding certifications, and they're just learning risk adjustment. And for like uh, this is maybe about 6 months in learning risk adjustment, just their personal. you know, information, their personal knowledge base, right?
Uh-huh.
And there's some people who are they're completely new with this with these concepts. Of course, nurses are a lot easier to teach about risk adjustment and about like revenue cycle because all of it is linked to disease and disease process. But you know, you can get these certifications, your CPC, certified professional coder certification, or certified risk adjustment certification, coder certification, and you don't have to have uh, prior medical or nursing knowledge. And those individuals are really, they're really struggling because they don't understand disease process, right?
Mm.
And you know, and you can try to help them with medical terminology, but if they don't really get it, my biggest concern with them is what's going to happen when you're sitting in front of a timed exam and you see a term that you've never seen before.
Yeah.
You know what is going to happen. So those are the type of people who I tell them, and I have been doing it with them. We don't need to meet every Saturday. You need to meet me on Mondays and Tuesdays
Mm.
because I need to get you. You can't be with the fast track people. The fast track people, we can just do questions and rationale, and they're back to cooking or whatever else they got to do for the rest of the day.
Right.
You need a Monday and Tuesday time where we're just coding. But the only thing we're doing is coding.
Seriously, because um man, it's getting crazy out here. I just think
Mhm.
that we're in a crazy time,
Of
but like
course.
now we can't. I mean, we can't discriminate now because they need help. You know what I'm saying? And
Mhm.
it's so crazy because like at the school I'm going to, there's like a waiting list, a 2-year waiting list, 1-year waiting list. Like, I don't know. I don't know
They
if it's
also don't have enough instructors too.
right. I don't know if it's like a money thing or if people see, here's the thing. I think people have the wrong mind. A lot of people, not all, but I think a lot of people have the wrong mindset when they get in the game. A lot of people don't look at nursing as a business, and I think
Right.
that is bad for
Right.
your psyche. If you
Mhm.
go into this field, and I get it, you have to care about people to a certain extent to be successful in this field, especially if you're at the bedside. But if you go into this game thinking that everything is just sunshine and roses, and if you work hard, you will be respected and they will always be loyal to you, I think you are sadly mistaken. But I
Mhm.
think if you get into the game and say, okay, I know I'm a number, let me treat them as such. Let me get
Yes.
what I can out of this thing and keep it pushing. I
Yes.
think your outlook will be better. Therefore, you will have a better mindset in going into this game. Like I know that if I want to get paid the big bucks, I have to make myself the most valuable nurse that I
Mhm.
can possibly be. My nursing knowledge has to be on point. That is why I'm studying for the NCLEX and
Mhm.
studying all this ICU information even before my RN classes even start.
I know that's right.
Yeah, because when I get into the game, I'm not coming to play with you. I'm
No.
coming to get my bread and move on. I don't
Yep.
no, I wanna put me in a worse situation so I can adapt. I'm an adaptive learner. So if I'm not put in a situation, then I'll never learn it. But put me in a situation so I can learn what to do, learn what not to do, so I can give you the best result needed so the patient can survive, so that I can make more money, so that you
Mhm.
can make more money as a business. And I don't think there's nothing wrong with looking at things like that. And people say, well, you shouldn't look at nursing like that because it shouldn't be all about the money. And I like to call bullshit on those people because, like I'll say, and I say it over and over again, if nursing was, they paid you $5 an hour, you would not do it. I
Right.
would not do it. Nobody would do it. That's the reason you got into the game. Let me see. Let me read some of these comments real quick, Nurse
Sure.
Roxy. Uh, Nurse Dow says at this point, it's not the patients, it's the staff. That's sick.
Mhm.
Ain't no COVID unit where I'm at. The staff are sick. 88 nurses, all
Mm.
due to symptomatic COVID. And like
Wow.
Roxy said, those co-effects from COVID are messing people up. All those people who were unable to be seen by their doctors, the whole pandemic, their chronic illnesses have declined, and hella exacerbations are a thing. That's a
Yep.
fact. And people, we got to start getting in shape. Number two, a lot of people who are getting this disease are so out of shape and so just not healthy, eating everything they want. And I just learned that health is everything. Health is wealth. Like it, like for real, for real.
When I tell you you are so on it, I think that what should have happened for more people that did not happen, and maybe it's because too many people are getting the information from memes and social media.
Mhm.
When you treat your body like a trash can, expect your body to function as that.
Yeah.
See, you got some people, you give them a brand new car. Oh, I can only put premium oil in my car. I can only put this grade of oil in my car. Okay, so that's how you feel about your car. That may quite likely outlive you, right? Because a car can take a licking.
Yeah.
You have a very fragile vessel,
Yep.
so whatever you put in your body, that's what your body has to work with.
Yeah.
So, and don't get me wrong, something could happen to you that is completely out of your control. If you're not, getting regular physicals, there could be things that could be brewing that you just never seen coming. You could eat a meal and get food poisoning and just drop dead. I mean, it's possible, right?
Yeah.
All of this is possible. We know that as nurses.
Mhm.
But a lot of people have really been putting themselves in a bad place. If you have a cigarette smoking habit, you're smoking marijuana, you're drinking all the time, right? If at Thanksgiving, because this was a big thing that happened with me recently at Thanksgiving, where I said, you know what, I'm not even having conversations with these people anymore about that. I don't. I'll make my whole Thanksgiving from Whole Foods, and everything is no salt, no this, no this, no that, and everybody still takes plates home and tear up the food. But I always got to hear one or two people say to me, "Well, why you got to make it healthy? People don't want healthy food. People want to have this and have it and that." Based on what? Based on what you see on the social media, and this is the mindset that we have. We run around talking about soul food and don't realize, like, when your body is being beat down because of all the things that you're doing on a day-to-day basis,
Yep.
right? And you're not working out as much as you can, or much as you ought to, and you're still, in stress. All of these things, they can really have such a negative effect on your body. And so now here comes the big C, you
Mm.
know, Delta Cron and Omicron and all the crons coming attacking you, and you're wondering why you're laying in bed for days and days and days and days and days. And it's because you're not taking care of yourself, so your body can't fight off these
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 ailments.
foreign agents.
Yeah. And you know what? And I'm not the one to preach to nobody because I still got a long way to go. But
Me too. Me
since
too.
I've been on my workout journey, I've been walking 3 miles a day, drinking a gallon of water, and I feel better. Like
Good.
I feel better in my body. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, I'm not the one to preach. But and again, like I said, I'm not even here to advocate for people and say that, oh, well, you need to go do this as far as the vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the lot, because I got the shot. In order for me to travel, I got it.
Mm-hmm.
So here's my logic, and nobody else has to agree with this logic, but this is my logic. And people don't have to say, you don't have to use it. It's just how I figured it out in my head. If for 30 years I can eat junk food, Taco Bell, McDonald's, all this other stuff, you know what I'm saying? You niggas been out here smoking weed, having unprotected sex, eating
Mm-hmm.
ass for the last 25, 30, 35 years from chicks you don't know, and you worried about a vaccine. I really think that's the last of your words. That's my take on it, though. That's my take on it.
Just said it to somebody this weekend. Somebody very close to me. I grew up with her. She's a bit older than me, but we were neighbors, and everything. And she just suddenly passed, and it was really sad. It's still really sad. I'm still kind of just dealing with the reality of her passing. But someone asked, I wonder if she got the vaccine. And I thought to myself, the person who asked that question is a person is an anti-vaxxer, but a habitual, regular, daily marijuana smoker,
Mm,
right? And I'm thinking to myself, so marijuana that you don't grow, marijuana that you don't know what is inside of it, you spend more money on it if it's quote unquote exotic. So
mm,
because you don't know what it is, you don't know what they're doing to it,
mm,
right? I'm hearing where somebody done told me that they can spray roach spray on there for it
mm,
to have a higher effect. All
mm.
of this stuff is messing up with your neurotransmitters. That's how you actually get the effect. because of what it's doing to your brain.
Mhm.
And you're telling me that you're concerned about a vaccine,
Mhm.
okay? You're
Yeah.
concerned about a vaccine, but you can pump that mess in your body, messing up with your sinuses and messing up with your lungs and everything else. You can do that, and that's from the earth. But you bought it from a weed man. It ain't, you don't know where it's from.
Now, to all my herbal tea chicks out there that's really about that herbal life and that plant life, I understand. And I understand the mistrust, especially with some in the
Of
black
course,
community that may have with the vaccine. That's why I'm not here to say whether you should
no.
or not. I'm not here to make that decision for you. But I'm saying that when they told CJ that, hey, in order to take your vacations once a month, you got to get the shot. Well, I said, run me the serum. And
Listen,
it was done. But I mean, it was what it was. And, I'm in this game and welcome to Death Row Records. You dig? So let me get back to some of this article real quick. Um, okay, let me see. Let me see. Let me see.
that's funny.
All right. In this environment, it is inevitable. A survey of healthcare workers in the second half of 2020 found that 1 in 5 doctors and even more nurses were considering leaving their practice within 2 years. Today, hospitals are dealing with staffing shortages even as we work amid another viral surge. Federal and state governments can and should do something to help. They should start by providing hazard pay to healthcare workers who continue to serve on the front lines of the pandemic. Hazard pay is defined by the U.S. Labor Department as additional pay for performing hazardous duty of work involving physical hardships. Federal employees who work directly with virulent biologicals
Mhm.
like coronavirus may already qualify for such pay. A 25% hazard bonus is authorized for federal employees working directly with or close to substances of microorganic nature, which, when introduced into the body, are likely to cause serious disease or fatality, and for which protective devices do not afford complete protection. Wow, I did not know that. I did not know that was the exact definition of hazard pay. Okay. This definition certainly reflects the situation of healthcare workers in emergency rooms, intensive care units, and medical wards today. The World Health Organization estimates that more than 100,000 healthcare workers may have died of COVID-19 between January 20th and May 2021.
And
Uh,
that's just COVID.
yeah, through hazard pay, though hazard pay won't eliminate our professional risk, it will serve as a concrete and much needed demonstration of appreciation to the doctors, nurses, respiratory techs, and other workers who continue to put their lives and the health of their families on the line for the public good. In
Mm,
Congress, Democrats as well as Republicans have proposed legislation for federally funded hazard pay for health workers.
mhm.
But no bill has been passed into law. In May 2020, the House of Representatives passed a relief package called the HEROES Act that authorized 200 billion in hazard pay for essential workers, but it was fizzled out in the Senate in the absence of sufficient Republican support. That same month, Senator Mitt Romney, Republican of Utah, proposed a Patriot Pay bonus for essential workers up to $12 an hour for 3 months. That nigga's crazy. His proposal was not approved. Some states, such as Pennsylvania, have provided limited hazard pay using federal money from the $2.2 trillion pandemic relief bill that Congress passed in March 2020. Other states, including Massachusetts and Maine, have negotiated with unions to offer hazard pay to health workers in state facilities, yet, any bonuses offered have been modest, sporadic, and temporary. Let me see. I am not under the illusion that hazard pay will cure the burnout and disaffection that is widespread in healthcare. Some of it undoubtedly predates the pandemic. However, hazard pay would recognize the outside burdens that have been placed on healthcare providers working in once a century circumstances and acknowledge that society has an obligation to compensate us for our sacrifices. Now,
Mm.
ladies and gentlemen, um, I feel like this. I feel like this. If they can pay basketball players millions of dollars, football athletes, and shout out to the athletes, I'm not denying what they do. They work really hard. But if they can't pay these nurses and these doctors a fraction of what the basketball players are getting, and they are the ones that they come see if they end up on a vent or if they catch COVID or anything related to COVID, I think that's absolutely crazy. I think it's time to have a major shift into this game. Um, I feel like nurses need to be your new celebrities. Nurses need to be your new heroes, nurses and doctors, and especially in the time that we in, I mean, they should adapt. Start paying people what they do. Now I get it. Nurses are probably never going to get 1 million, $2 million contracts, but it's wishful thinking. What do you think, Nurse Roxy?
Two things. I'm a big advocate on expanding your skill set.
Mm-hmm.
Expand your skill set so that you can um, maximize your pay and maximize your value to the healthcare team, right? Wherever you're at. That's one thing. I do think in my own little, this is my own little philosophy. I feel like the need for nurses and the need for nurse educators, I feel like it's almost like its own silent protest. Because when I see things like, oh, there's a nursing shortage, I kind of laugh at it because I'm thinking like, yeah, go nurses, because myself not working at the bedside, I feel like that demand, that need that they have, it's like, okay, so now you have to bring in the troops. Because I'm this here, if I'm not mistaken, is it the National Guards that
Yeah,
they're
they brought
thinking
in.
considering?
They brought it in Michigan. They brought in the
Right.
army
So
and
now
National
this
Guard.
is what you have resorted to provide the care because you are running thin, and essentially those medics in the service, from my understanding, this is a part of their duties, right? So of course you're pulling from what you have, so if the government wants to do that's fine, but I do think that nurses should stand their ground and continue to collectively advocate for better pay, for hazard pay, and also I think I agree completely with you about shifting things. And I think a shift is underway. And that's the reason why you have this nursing shortage. They
Mm,
would not, trust me, they would not be the conversation around trying to cap the pay of nurses would not even be a topic if nurses were standing their ground collectively. You
mm.
can see that this is happening across the board because most nurses probably seen it brewing. When I saw the first commercials coming out ever since this whole pandemic, and the commercials were nurses crying and scars for the face mask, I turned to my husband. I said, you know what? They never care about nurses this much. This is like, the 52 fake out, so to speak, where you draw attention to the nurse crying at the nursing station, the nurse who needs, the nurses are so stressed out, only drawing attention to them crying, but doing nothing really about what's really going on. Nurses were already being undervalued
Yeah.
already. So a lot of nurses just kind of saw this coming on the horizon, like, oh, okay, so now you're going to tell me that I'm going to wear the same face mask all week. Okay, now you're going to tell me that if I come to work, we ain't talking about a snowstorm. See, I live in the East Coast. We get some snow where you're going to the hospital, you're not coming back out. They
Mm-hmm.
were doing that with people
Mm-hmm.
because of because
Yeah.
of staffing.
Yeah.
You come in and you can't go back home. So my thing is, yeah, you need to pay like you weigh. If this is how you want nurses to work, you need to pay them accordingly. If I'm going to lock up in here with these patients coughing and everything like that on me, and I got to go ahead and go home, so now you're going to explain to me that I could just take my uniform off. I can put my face mask in a paper bag, because that's what they were telling a lot of these healthcare professionals in the hospitals, to put their the face mask in a paper bag, and I'll come back and put my face mask back on, and it'll be like nothing. So what do I do with my family?
Right.
Because I'm here telling all these patients to quarantine when they go home, and when they're discharged home, I'm telling them you still need to quarantine for 5 more days or 6 more days or whatever. But then I come home to my family every single night. That doesn't even make sense.
And you know what? That's why. And see, I would have been the wrong person to put on that commercial because I would have been like, "What you crying for?" You don't have to see. My mentality is so different. I'm not. I go for what best fits me in my lifestyle. It
Hmm.
is too many things to do, and before this pandemic came, I would say I don't believe in nurse burnout because there are too many. Nurses have too many options to be burnt out. Nurse
But they
Roxy,
know what their options are, though.
yeah, but you know what? I take a vacation once a month. I make good money, and I'm straight. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
it's just like, if every nurse had my mentality, then the shortage would probably be hella deeper than what it is now.
Actually.
Because I'm not just finna stand for the bullshit, even though, like, cause I don't have to.
Hmm.
And that's the thing. Like, a lot of nurses, to me, put themselves under these horrible circumstances, but some righteous, ethic, moral code. I don't know why.
Hmm.
But I'm not the one, because I know that if I drop dead tomorrow,
They
they'll
don't
just
fix
put
it.
another posting on Indeed, new nurse needed. So that
Hmm.
is why I treat them as they treat me, like a business. And I take my vacations for my mental health. I don't
Hmm.
get burnt out for nobody. And I'm not gonna let no job burn me out. Absolute. That's crazy. Especially in the field where you got all these options. That don't even make sense to me. And unless they start standing up, I'm not moving for no little or nothing. I'm not doing it.
Well, you made a good point about the schools. I think that nursing schools fail students in not teaching them about the diverse opportunities in nursing, because
Right.
most nurse educators are of an age where they went to med surge and that was it.
Yep.
Healthcare has expanded so greatly that I think that nurses actually coming out of nursing school should actually be prepared for the options that they have out there. I
Yep.
recently was asked to teach online for a program, and I was there for about 2 weeks, and I had to have a nice little conversation with with the DON, and I told her, I said, mm-mm. I said, what we're doing here, this whole approach, because first of all, it was online, and it was all these, nurse to be who are saying, I don't know how to use a computer, and I
Mhm.
don't know, I'm not the computer savvy. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I'm not about to hold their hand. Like that was just something like so like even just seeing that, it was helping me to understand a lot of the gaps in nursing education, why you see nurses coming out being burnt out. When you're in nursing school, somebody's telling you that you have to go on that med surge floor. You have to get up in that hospital. I'm not going to tell you not to do that. I think it's a great place for you to gain those clinical skills,
Yeah.
because those clinical skills are recognizable and they're unique to nurses. They're easy to market. But the other options are available. And
Yep.
why I say the other options are available, you need to be comfortable exploring other options so that you get to cut and move how you need to,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Because you don't know how you're going to have to be able to hustle it. Something could happen to you and you can't really do that traditional hospital nursing home role, but you still can finesse and work it out because nursing is dynamic.
Yes. Yes. And that's a fact. She ain't doing nothing but speaking the truth, ladies and gentlemen. And my biggest advice to any new nurse: come in the game with a plan. Um,
Yes.
I wish Well, I'm still early in the game, but come in the
Mhm.
game with a plan. Make you a plan and stick to it. And I
Yes.
know everything doesn't go according to plans, but as I said before, I'm an odds guy, and I believe in giving yourself the best odds that
Hmm.
you can. Learn what you need to learn to become as valuable as possible and use that as leverage. You don't need to be unless that's just your passion, you don't need to be at the bedside 30 years. That's crazy. They
No.
got 10 to 15 years, if that, out of me. Then I'm taking that money and that knowledge and I'm finessing it in other ways. And that's just it.
Mhm.
Well, Nurse Roxy, my last question to you
Mhm.
in this thing, because I didn't want to be on too long.
That's all right.
How much money would it take to get you back at the bedside again? If Snap Nurse said, Nurse Roxy, we need you.
The rates that you had listed, it's not that they're not enough. Those rates were very. I think those rates were. Those are rates I think nurses deserve, right? And I think some of these these top heavy organizations, they can release some of these people walking around in these suits who I don't know what they're doing,
Right.
right? Because we got too many of those people in hospitals as well. You could probably get rid of some of those people and be able to pay your staff more. Um, but I am not a bedside type of nurse.
So it's no amount of money they could throw at you to say, Nurse Roxy, we need you to
No,
come back.
no, no. If I was, if I, the only thing I would probably do at the bedside is visit the bedside to make sure the nurse who's there is doing what she or he is supposed to be doing, or visit the bedside to make sure that the doctor is documenting what he or she is supposed to be documenting, so that the money can come in properly. Um, that's as much as I would want to do at the bedside. But
I
again, this speaks to what you said about knowing what you want and staying focused.
hmm
That's just me. I'd
Yeah.
rather work with the doctors with the clinical documentation and the revenue cycle than um, work at bedside. But I know that, again, I said before, those are great marketable skills. They're unique to nursing and they're easy to recognize when you want to advance into other areas of healthcare.
Yeah. And that's why, like I said, when I get into the game, like I said, my first 1 to 2 years, I want to learn everything I can in that ICU.
Yeah.
And I'm willing
Find
to,
your niche.
yeah, I'm willing to work where I need to work so that way I can become the most valuable and use that knowledge to do some other fly things.
Are you thinking about being a CNRA?
I thought about it. Um, I thought about it, but I was just like, if I can make 300 grand a year as a nurse, I'm just like, well, why would I do that? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. It depends because I know
Mhm.
CRNAs don't work that much. Don't well, let me not say they don't work that much, but they don't have to work that much and still make a
Right.
lot of money.
Right. Exactly.
Um, I see travel CRNAs getting 300,000, 350,000 a year. I've seen that.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my goal, but it depends. Plans could change.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, maybe I'll get tired of working the bedside and want to invest that 3 years. But they don't want you to work for 3 years and everything like that, and while you're in school, and so it just depends. It depends on how this nursing
Mm-hmm.
career go and how everything else is going. And if I'm content as a RN, then maybe I at least plan to get my MSN. But
Mm-hmm.
if I want more money, then I might go ahead and get into it. We'll never know. You never know. You might. You
You
might.
never know. But you are a very motivated, self motivated, and self directed person. I think whatever it is that you want to do, once you see it, I think you'll grab after it and you will definitely take advantage of it. So I don't think you have to worry about it, because I think you'll know what it is when you experience it.
You know what it is though, Nurse Roxy. I don't want to be broke, and that's I, my two main driving forces is not the fear of being broke because I'm not scared of going broke.
Hmm.
Because I know I'm willing to do what I have to do to not be broke, but not wanting to be broke is a major motivation. And two, seeing the world has triggered something in my mind to where I'm like, okay, I gotta grind because this is the type of lifestyle that I want to live.
Yeah.
I'm bougie at the end of the day. I'm a bougie dude. I
Hmm.
like luxury. I like luxurious things, even though like a luxury car, that doesn't mean anything to me.
Hmm.
Jewelry doesn't mean anything to me. But I like lavish, 6-star catering to vacations. And I
Hmm.
know in order to live that lifestyle on a regular basis, I gotta go get it. You know what I'm saying? I gotta
Hmm.
grind. That don't come free. You know what I'm saying? I gotta be more than the $200,000 a year dude in order to live the lifestyle that I want to live. And I'm
Hmm.
not doing it for nobody else. I'm doing it because me. That's what I want to do. You know
Of
what I'm saying?
course.
So, but I figured out a pretty good balance on how to balance working and living. And I think that's the thing that people don't do. People be like, well, CJ, you spending all this money on vacations, which I don't, because I know how to hustle and I know how to finesse and I know
Hmm.
travel hacks. So I don't spend as much money as people think I'm spending.
Hmm.
But I'm gonna live my life too. You know what I'm saying? You got to, especially if you work
Yes, sir.
in a heavy, stressful field like nursing, because it could be over tomorrow. You can catch a
Yep.
disease and it's a wrap for tomorrow. So I'm doing what I gotta do.
Your back could go out and it'd be a wrap.
Exactly. So I'm having all my fun. I'm having my fun while I'm young and while I'm working. I don't know why you can't do that. Some people think, well, it's work, 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 work. And I get it. I'm a 60-hour dude. I believe in putting in 60 hours a week. But at the end of the month, I'm out. It's all
Right.
good. You know what I'm saying? It's all I'm taking another 10 days off next month. And then when I get back, we grinding it out. And then
Mm-hmm.
all over again. So it's just about what your motivation is, your focus, and your balance. So
I like that.
Roxy, is there anything you want to add before we shut this thing down?
I just think nurses should be very mindful of the fact that it's a dynamic field. You can make a lot of money, you can make a big impact in healthcare, but I think you also need to find what your niche is, master a skill set and know how to market it. Also, know how to market yourself, like as far as on your resume. One little tidbit I would give any nurse, new nurse or nurse, you've been a nurse for years, maybe even longer than me, right? So I've only been a nurse over a little over 10 years. Don't just do work or become so task oriented in what you're doing that you don't know what you're doing,
Mm,
right? So pay attention to what you're being asked to do. I got into this area of nursing because I was working for insurance companies and I was paying attention to what I was doing. I
mm,
was looking at what I was doing. I was looking back at what I was doing. I was talking to the people in the financial offices. I was talking to the auditors. I was talking to the coders. I was paying attention to what they were doing and what they were asking me to do. When forms generate numbers, those numbers are used for something. If they're asking you to, if they're implementing something and you're wondering, well, why are they implementing it? Just don't grab the paper and start doing, or just grab your computer and just start doing. Ask questions, find out why you're doing what you're doing, because in those questions and that curiosity, it will help lead you into creating the nursing role that you want to be in. And I agree with you, CJ. You don't have to be burnt out in nursing.
no, you don't.
You don't have to be burnt out in nursing. You can find your area of nursing that you want to expand and grow in, and get certified in those areas. Get, go deeper and deeper in those areas. But you have to be paying attention to what you're doing. Don't just get into the task oriented piece of nursing, because nursing is both science and that task oriented piece, and you can go either way. Some nurses get burnt out because they go that task oriented piece, and you ask them why they're doing what they're doing, and they're like, I don't know,
Hmm.
but you're tired doing it. So then you should start asking some more questions, because I'm sure if you start knowing why you're doing, you'll be a little bit more purpose driven in your decisions.
Absolutely. And I think
Mhm.
it's important, like you said, knowing how to diversify yourself as well.
Yes.
Become good at a skill, at a niche, but you need to know how to do other things as well. You need to know how to generate income in more than one area. Nursing is so unique and diverse that it's almost like a different job within the same field. Well, it is a different job within the same field. So it's just like it's multiple things to do within that field, and you don't always have to be at the bedside if you don't want to. So just know how important that is as well. You have
Mhm.
options, ladies and gentlemen. You don't have to be burnt out. A lot of y'all are on some, I don't know, super saving nurse, and that ain't me. I'm
Mm-mm.
sorry, I never been that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to prove myself to nobody but myself. I wanna
Mhm.
come in, be the most valuable nurse that I can, help my patients out, save my patients, and then go home and worry about CJ. So,
I know
uh,
that's right.
on that note, Nurse Roxy. Oh, one more thing I'm gonna ask you real quick.
Sure.
So, with the insurance company, do you have like a class where you teach people like what they need to know in order to work for an insurance company as a nurse, or do you just do like the coding classes?
So I actually do provide consultation services. These are free consultation services. So if somebody wants any advice on career advisement, or any, oh shit, that's a little redundant. If you want any assistance with career advisement, you're interested in working for a health insurance company, or maybe you're interested in risk adjustment, you're interested in ICD-10 coding, you're curious about revenue cycle, you definitely can visit my website, www.acd4n.com. I did change some things there. Right now, I'm collecting data on some medical coding courses that are out there. I have had uh, some respondents to my survey, significant enough that I do have analytics on that. So that's just something else that I'm doing right now. So if there's anybody out there who's in a medical coding course and you're watching this video and you want a space to kind of voice your experience, we kind of really, our goal is really to work with you. My goal is to work with individuals who want to know about this area of healthcare. So if you're interested in risk adjustment, ICD-10 coding, I'm also affiliated with other nurse coders who are have been coding and they do it professionally. I'm only on the teaching side. And so they've been doing it professionally. And I would love to help a nurse who's interested in this. So again, my website is www.acd4n.com. And about the coding piece. The coding piece, these are one-on-one sessions. Essentially, what it's really about is helping you to feel comfortable and build your confidence with coding, because coding is about accuracy. So really it's about practicing and really learning about coding and coding guidelines, but also about the practice. So
So
I
do
don't
you
want to go
teach
on a
people who
tangent. I
don't
love
know?
this stuff.
So do you teach people who don't know anything about coding?
They
You
don't know
start them from
anything
square
about
one and
coding.
come in
Right.
there,
But when I say coding, I'm talking about medical coding. Now, I
medical
will
coding.
say this. I do have I have recently, actually last year at the same time, I had I was in a course, completed a course at NYU, learning SQL and business data analytics, different coding. The coding that I am talking about on www.acd4n.com is coding for medical coding. So this is really when doctors see patients during their encounters in their, let's say, office visits, someone has to take that information and convert those diagnosis or diagnostic statements. They
Uh-huh.
have to convert those statements into codes. Those codes are there for your money codes. And this is how revenue is uh, pretty much cycled through healthcare. So the first stop is that those doctors have to write the right statements for the coders to know, bam, these are the codes that I need to code. This is exactly the diagnosis that's being covered in these encounters. And then that information is sent off to the payers,
Mhm.
insurance companies. And in some case, you CMS may be that payer. So then they pretty much are going to want to make sure that everything meets documentation standards. So again, revenue can cycle.
Right.
So without that's just a very short, brief version of it.
Okay.
But it's
Well,
something that if you're interested in ICD-10, I'm sure you see diagnosis all the time on people's records and you see the numbers right next to it and you're like, what is these? What are these numbers? So this is how to get there.
we're gonna have to have you back one day and just explain the
Sure. I would
thing,
love to.
go over it and everything like that to the people who are interested. I'm
I
sure
would
they
love
would
to.
love to hear. I would love to learn more about it actually myself. So,
Hmm.
so but ladies and gentlemen, I am going to wrap this up. Y'all go check out Nurse
Thank you.
Roxy's website. It's on the ticker at the bottom, www.acd4n.com. And if you want to learn how to get into the coding game, she is the lady that you need to talk to.
Yes.
So, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna wrap this up and I'm gonna holla at y'all in a minute.
Thank
Peace.
you again. Bye bye.
No problem. Peace.